Welcome to the fourth video in our 2022 Western USA series. In this installment, we visit Joshua Tree, Death Valley, Great Sand Dune, Mesa, Verde National Parks, as well as a few other interesting locations. Our first stop is Joshua Tree National Park, just outside of Palm Springs, California. The park is full of its namesake Joshua trees, which are native to the Mojave Desert. They're also known as yucca palms and palm tree yuccas because they're part of the genus Yucca. These trees can grow up to about 50 feet high and can have roots that reach 35 feet deep, so they're kind of unique. The park's also home to some unique rock formations. This is a pretty good sized boulder, but I bet I can lift it. I'll just lift the one there. Ready?
Oh, I missed it.
Oh well, you know I lifted it. It's part of my workout plan. My workout plan is I plan to sit on the couch and hope it works out. There was a trail through the valley surrounded by these rock formations, so I decided to take a hike through it. There were a few lizards and birds, but we didn't see much other wildlife. But it was the middle of the day in the desert, so there were some beautiful flowers on the cactuses though. On the west side of the park were the little San Bernardino Mountains, where you can go to the top and view Palm Springs in the distance. The wind really whips through this valley, and there are lots of windmills there. When we drove through it, we had to drive through a strong sandstorm that put thousands of tiny pits in my windshield. It's like a sandblaster hit it. In the distance, you can see the San Jacinto Mountains, where we're headed next, to the Palm Springs Aerial Tramway. This is like a Swiss gondola that takes you from the base of Palm Springs over Chino Canyon to Mount San Jacinto State Park at the top, which is over 8,000 feet high. The gondola rotates as you go up the mountain, so you can see everything no matter where you're standing. Every time the gondola goes over a sport tower, it sways slightly. So it's kind of like an amusement park ride for some of the passengers. They always go, woo, whoa, every time.
Each of these tractations, 13,500 feet in length, therefore weighing over 6
Oh wow, look at it down there.
The halfway point of our trip is reached between the Strait.
Departure areas there, whenever you want to go back down. Gift shops on the second level.
You get a good view of Palm Springs below when you're up high. Even though it's in the 90s at the bottom of the mountains, the top was still cold enough there were patches of snow on the ground. You definitely need to bring warmer clothes you would normally wear at the bottom if you're going to the top. Mount Jacinto State Park is in a valley at the top of the mountain, so there's a fairly steep walkway from the aerial car stop to the park below. Once you walk down, though, there are well-maintained trails to walk on through a forest of very tall conifer trees. This is a close-up of one of the trees to get you an idea of how tall they really are. This is Karen for reference. As I mentioned, when we were there was still plenty of snow on the ground. I assume that lasts all year long. The temperature was very different at our next stop, Death Valley National Park. Here we are in Death Valley National Park. This park holds a few records for its natural environment. So we're here in Death Valley. We're actually at the bottom of the valley. Death Valley National Park is the largest park in the contiguous 48. So you can have to take a long drive. I think it's like 120 miles to drive to the other end of it. So we're just going to drive around a little bit and maybe walk on a few trails. But right now we're in the bottom of the valley. And the cool thing is, this is about 200 feet below sea level. So this Death Valley, the bottom floor here is below sea level. It's actually about 200 feet below sea level. That's why it's so hot. This is the hottest place in the world. It's the driest place in the United States. And it's the lowest place in North America. So pretty cool. You can see the mountains kind of around me, and this is the valley that we're in. Unique rock formations and things. So we're going to take a little bit of a drive around and then we'll take a walk too. In the summer, the temperature in this park gets well over 120 degrees, so I don't imagine you want to walk on those days. Also, if you come in here, it's a long drive, and there's only one gas station in the park, and it's really expensive, so fuel up before you come in. This is the Furnace Creek area of the park, which was home to the Harmony Borax Works in the late 1800s. The company would extract borax from these hills and transport it on mule-pulled wagons. If you've ever seen 20 Mule Team on borax soap, this is where it originated. Our next stop is Monument Valley, which isn't a national park, but it's an iconic place in the Southwest. When we drove through here, we were met by clouds of dust blowing across the road, but the scenery was amazing. The sandstorm formations here were caused by millennia of water erosion. Director John Ford used the location on a number of his westerns. Someone once said, "If its 5 square miles have defined for decades what moviegoers think when they imagine the American West." And it really is quite a sight. Actually, when we stopped on the side of the road at one point, it's the exact location where they filmed the iconic scene of Forrest Gump, where he's running through Monument Valley and stops and decides he's finished running. This is the exact spot, actually, right here. We're now in Four Corners. This is the only place in the United States where 4 states touch each other. So it's Four Corners. Of course, it's on Indian land, so you have to pay to get in here. But as you can see, the people over there, they're standing on 4 states at once. Pretty cool, right? It's kind of a tourist trap. It's in a square that's surrounded by vendor booths where mostly, I think, Native Americans try to sell you their crafts. But it was still interesting to visit, just for the novelty. It's interesting to stand in Arizona, Utah, Colorado, and New Mexico all at the same time. Our next stop was Great Sand Dunes National Park in Colorado. It's mostly known for the large sand dunes there. Unlike White Sands National Park in our previous video, which had a fine white powder sand, these dunes are made of coarse brown sand like you find on the shore of many beaches. This is important if you visit on a windy day like we did, because it feels like someone's hitting you with a low-powered sand blaster the whole time, which is uncomfortable on exposed skin. To get to the actual sand dune, you need to cross this seasonal river. I'm going to guess that maybe in the middle of summer the river doesn't flow, but at the time we were there, it's a pretty good-sized stream, and you have to walk across it. I guess I should have not worn shoes, but I didn't know it was going to be there when we first walked through. There's a lack of research. So I and many other people just had to walk across this stream. And then you get on the sand, and when you walk across water and then stand in sand, well, you probably get an idea what happens. Your shoes are coated with sand. Nothing I could do about it. Once I got to the proper sand dune, I started to climb up. We didn't go right to the top. Karen's knee was not working very well. She had some issues with her knee, so I walked up about halfway. It's a pretty high peak on the top of the sand dune. Lots of people do walk up there, but it was really windy that day, as I was saying. So you can see on the right side of this video the sand just blowing across there in waves. So I didn't want to spend too much time out there any more than I had to. But it was interesting and really kind of beautiful to see the sand dance across there in the wind. I walked to the edge of the dune I was on, just to give you an idea of the drop from the dune. I didn't see anybody try to sled down it, and I wasn't willing to do it either, but I guess people might. Our last national park on this trip was Mesa Verde. It's located in southwest Colorado, not far from Four Corners. The park entrance is at the bottom of a mountain. You got to drive up to get to the archaeological sites, but the views from the top of the valley below are really beautiful. Mesa Verde contains the largest archaeological preserve in the United States. They're the remains of the dwellings of a Paleo-Indian people who occupied the area starting about 7,500 BC, so almost 10,000 years ago. The cliff dwellings are the most unique. The people built their homes in crevices in the side of the cliffs. Although the Park Service built some trails for visitors to get down to some of the sites, the original inhabitants used ladders and ropes to descend the cliffs to their home. They think they did this as a way to protect themselves from other people who were attacking them. If they pulled the ladders and ropes up, it would be difficult for the attackers to reach them, and the attackers would be easy targets if they tried to climb down the cliff face themselves. All these different cliff dwellings were built into the side of the cliffs of this valley on top of the plateau. Here are two of the different cliff dwellings that we didn't get to go to that were built into the side of the mountain. I put some arrows in to point them out. You can see how difficult it would be for attackers to get down there if they came. Our last stop in this video is Sedona, Arizona. It's also not a national park, but it's a town that's a tourist destination known for the beautiful rock formations that surround it. People come for the hiking and four-wheel tours of the surrounding area, as well as for the shops and restaurants that are in the downtown. This is the back country of Sedona. The town, which is called the high end of Sedona, is over that direction. So it's kind of the back country. You see the stone front. It's a nice trail back here we found just by pulling off the road and going in a little ways. I don't know how far we'll walk on the trail, but it's a nice country back here. Just outside of Sedona is the Chapel of the Holy Cross. It's a small Catholic church built into the side of the rocks. It was designed to take advantage of the natural beauty of the rocks and landscape in the area. There's a winding ramp you have to walk up to get to the main entrance, so you can't help but take in the beautiful views as you go up. Both sides of the chapel are completely made of glass, so you can see the large crucifix at the altar before you enter. And it's framed by the mountains at the front. That's all for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see more of our travel videos, check out our entire channel at The Horizon Awaits on YouTube. And subscribe to be notified when a new one's posted. Thanks for watching.